Welcome in the 8th episode. Today we will implement the logic to move our ball around the grid. So we'll be able to select the ball, press on the grid square, and the ball will be moving to that position. If you want to help support this channel, hit the subscribe button below this video, turn on notification so you will not miss any future episode I release. You can buy ready project directly on my website. I will put the link in the description below this video. You can also get this project directly on the YouTube channel under my video. You will see the link there, so you can press and buy it directly on the YouTube. So this is ready project. You will receive the Unity package, which you can import into the Unity, and you will have full implementation. So let's open our project. And first of all, we need to make a few modifications to our script. So first of all, let's open our ball script. And now let's add some logics. So first of all, right at the top, we need to put the private game data, and that's going to be our game data. Now public, and will be Unity engine .ai .navmesh agent. Navmesh agent. Now we need to put the private vector3 for the target position. Let's put now the navmesh path. So private Unity engine AI navmesh path, and then we need to put a few other Boolean and integer variables. So this will be this, and this is basically the Boolean variable for the path set. So whenever we set the path for our ball, this will be true. Current object index and target object index, as our balls, if you remember, are stored in the list in our game data. We need to know the index at which the current selected ball is sitting, and index at the target square. So the game field is holding all of the squares in our grid, and we need to know the indexes. So those two variables represent that. And then we need to put the public bool, and that's going to be the clicked, and it's going to be the field. So get and then set, that's going to be the public. Okay, so now in our start method, let's actually put the private, and now first line will be the game data will be equal to, so now we need to call object dot find first object by type. Okay, make sure you call this function find first object, and now we need to put the type, which is going to be the game data. Then we need to call the nav agent .enable will be equal to false. Then we want to call the path will be equal to new, and that's going to be the navmesh path. And you know, because I have the rider, once I call the navmesh path, because this is from the external library from the Unity, is automatically added me using statement at the top, so make sure you added that, and then that's going to be our path. Then clicked will be equal to false, and then that's it. So next function we want to put is our update function, private void update, and let's leave this function empty for now. And let's actually implement a few other functions which we will need actually in this class. So the first one will be public void and then selected, and this is gonna be bool selected, and inside the selected function we want to call the clicked will be equal to selected. The other function will be private void on mouse down. So this function will be called whenever we press on the square. And in this function we want to set clicked to true. Another function will be the setting the target position. So this is going to be the target position for our ball. So public void and then set target position. And the first parameter will be vector3, and that's going to be the new position. Then we want to call the int the index for our ball, and then int the index for our square. Okay, and now the target position. Actually, we didn't actually put the target position, so scroll right at the top, and below here, let's put another private vector3, and that's going to be our target position. Now we want to put the target position, so target position will be equal to new position, then navmesh agent will be called enabled true, so we want to enable it, and then current object index will be equal to ball index array, and then target object index will be equal to target index array. Okay, we need one more function, so our function will be public void and then calculate path. So this function will be used to actually find the path on our grid using the navmesh and the navmesh agent, and basically to set the position, target position for the ball, and then guide the board through. So let's pass the position, so vector3 new position, and now if new position is not equal to transform dot position, so this is preventing us from clicking on the balls twice and then get the navigation to be calculated for that. And then if it's not, then navmesh agent dot enabled will be equal to true, and then navmesh agent dot reset path, so everything is cleared, and then navmesh agent dot calculate path, and we want to pass the new position and our path. Okay, so now we can start to using our functions. So first of all, let's implement the update method. So in our update, we actually want to check if the path is found, and then if it is, we want to start moving the ball. So if the path dot status will be equal to unity engine dot ai dot navmesh status dot path completed, and navmesh agent dot path pending will be equal to false. So if we have found the path and the navmesh agent does not have any other path, we wanna see if this current ball is clicked, because this script is attached to every single ball on the grid. So we want to find if this is the right ball. We want to put if is clicked, and then inside we actually know our path status is completed, because we checked that over here. We actually don't need this first things, so let's remove that. So now we can actually, if it's clicked, we want to check if the path set will be true, and then nav agent dot set path will be path, and then game data dot puzzle list, and then target position is actually target object index dot ball object will be equal to game data dot puzzle list current object index dot ball object. So basically what we're doing, we're just transferring our ball object because it's going to be moved to that target square from one square to the other. And then we want to also set the null for our current object. So game data dot puzzle list dot add current object index dot ball object will be equal to null. So we want to make sure our current square where the ball is currently before. So we want to make sure our current square does not have the ball anymore. And we actually want to also check because if this is clicked, we can click on multiple balls and move them straight away at the same time. So to prevent that, we want to actually put the path set. So if it's clicked and the path set is equal to false. Okay, so that way, and then otherwise, if the clicked and path set, so if the path set is actually set, and there is actually the ball object on the selected grid, so game data dot puzzle list at target object dot ball object dot nav mesh agent dot remaining path remaining distance is equal to 0.0f. So if this is the case, so if we click on the ball already and we have our path, so that means the ball is already moving. So we want to check the distance, how much is remaining for the ball to travel. If it's 0, that means the ball arrived at the target. So ball arrived at the target. Okay, and if this is the case, we just want to unset the path set. It will be equal to false. Clicked will be equal to false. Nav agent dot is stopped will be equal to true, and then nav mesh agent dot reset path. We want to reset our path. Nav mesh agent dot enabled will be false. And then we want to actually set our target position to transform dot position, so to our current position for the ball. And then we want to set our game data, so game data dot puzzle list at target object index dot is empty will be equal to false, and then game data dot puzzle list at current object index dot is empty will be equal to true. Okay, so make sure you put that in, and I think that's it for our ball class for now. So everything is implemented at the moment, and now we need to start to make use of this function. So let's save everything. And now let's switch to our square class. So inside this class, we want to add just one more thing. So let's remove the comments, let's remove the update method, and right at the top, let's put public bool clicked. And it's gonna be the get and set method. Let's put the private in the start. And now put the public void and then on mouse down, and inside here we want to put the clicked is actually clicked will be equal to true. And that's it for this class. Let's save it. And the last thing we need to do is basically go to our game playing state, and we want to actually go in the update method, and then inside the update method, outside of this f statement, we want to create another function. So I will call it click ball and move. And this is going to be the function we need to implement. Okay, so right below, let's create this function, and then inside this function we want to loop through every single puzzle in every single square in our list. So for each, so for var index is equal to 0, index is less than the game data dot puzzle list dot length, and then index plus plus. So inside here we want to basically check if the game data at dot puzzle list is at index is empty, and game data dot puzzle list at index dot ball object. So if we have the ball in that square, and then game data dot puzzle list at index dot ball object dot clicked, and if that object is actually clicked. So if it is, then we want to set our balls clicked index will be equal to index. We don't have that variable yet, so let's create it. So right at the top, I will put under the first time I will put the private int and then that variable. And now let's actually go back to our click and move. So we set our index, and now we need to loop actually again through all of the lists, and this time what we're gonna do, we're gonna set our target position for the selected ball. So if the game data dot puzzle list at index dot square object dot clicked, so if the square is clicked, so that means we have our target position. So this over here we're checking if we clicked actually the square with the ball, and then if we click the square with the ball, that means we can click now this empty square. So this is basically what we're doing here. We're just checking if the empty square is clicked, so we have the target position where we want to move our ball to. So inside here we want to put another if, so if statement game data dot puzzle list at index at ball clicked index dot ball object. So if we have the ball in that square, and game data dot puzzle list at current at ball clicked index dot square object is not equal to, and then again we need to call this game data puzzle list at index dot square object. So if this is different square, and let's add another brace in the inside here, so we just do the separation, and game data puzzle list at index dot is empty, and game data puzzle list at index dot ball object is equal to null. So basically what we're checking here is we're checking if we have the ball at the square where we clicked, and if we don't have a ball at the square where we want to move to. This is essentially what this if statement is checking for. And then if this is passed, we want to call our game data dot puzzle list at ball clicked index dot ball object dot calculate path, and we want to pass our target position, so it's going to be the game data dot puzzle list at index dot ball position, and then we want to call the game data dot puzzle list ball clicked index dot ball object dot selected will be equal to true, and then another one is gonna be the game data dot ball object dot set target position, and the target position will be our game data dot puzzle list at index dot ball position. Then our ball index array will be the ball clicked index, and our target array will be index. Okay, and then last thing we want to do is we want to call the clear square clicked. Okay, we do not have that function yet, so let's actually add that right at the bottom. We just add that function, and this is going to be very simple function. It's going to go through the list of the squares, so for counter, and then we want to go through the game data dot puzzle list dot length, and then what we want to do is we want to call the game data dot puzzle list at counter dot square object dot clicked will be equal to false. So we just want to reset, and I made a typo, so make sure everything is correct. So that's everything. So this is our clear square clicked. This is our click and move function, and it needs to be sitting in the update. So once you've done everything, we can actually now save everything and go back to Unity. So let's first of all go to our prefabs, so prefabs folder, and then our red ball. Let's click on this red ball, and then inside the inspector we now need to pass the nav mesh agent. So let's hit the add component, and let's put the nav mesh agent, and then let's add nav mesh agent to this object. And now make sure the agent type is set to ball, and then area mask you can set to everything, or you can just set to walkable. Doesn't really matter at this moment. If we will have more than one nav mesh created, then this would be different. But I will leave it everything, but you can just set walkable, and then you can play up with all of these settings if you like. Just make sure you set the agent type to ball. And now we need to actually grab this component. Just hold on the top bar and then drop it inside our script, the ball script. So make sure it's initialized with the red ball. So once you've done this, we can actually hit this arrow to save. And actually for our nav mesh, if we open our nav mesh, you will see we have the nav mesh this size. I think we want to change this a bit. So under our nav mesh in the previous episode, we have added these cubes. So let's enable all of it. select them all and then enable them. And now let's go to our nav mesh. And then make sure you have the navigation open. So if you don't, just go to under the agent type, hit this ball, open agent settings. So you will see this navigation window. And now let's change so properties. So I want to change the radius for the nav mesh is going to be 0.5, and max slope will be 40. You can do that. You don't have to, but if you change this, then you want to go back to our nav mesh. You want to hit this clear and then bake. So as you see, my nav mesh is a bit tinier, so the ball will be moving more in the squarish route. So you will see that just in a minute. You can play up with this value if you like. I'm gonna stick with this. So we can actually now select all of these cubes again, and then make sure they are hidden. So disable them. Once we're happy with the nav mesh, you'll be able to just delete them. We will not need them anymore. So now let's save. So file, save. And now let's press play. And now we have our balls. If you select on any ball, you can click on the ball and then click on any square, any empty square. And then the ball is actually not moving. And this is because there is one more thing. Currently, our nav mesh, if you go, currently our nav mesh is actually sitting right above our canvas, right above our plane. So to change that, we wanna basically lower down the nav mesh. So select the nav mesh object and make sure the Y position is set to 0. And now if you do that, then hit play and the nav mesh should work. So now select the ball, select any other square, and as you see, the ball is actually moving to that target location. The movement is not perfect yet. We're gonna brush it up later. But the most important thing, the ball is actually finding its way. And as you see, there is another thing. You will have some errors because we pass over the other ball, which that should not be possible. But this is something we're gonna fix in the next episodes. So if you select on the same ball now twice, you have these errors. That's gonna be fixed as well. But the main point of this episode is actually we can click on the ball and we can move it to any location we like. We can click on even two balls at the same time. This is not the behavior you want to have, but that's going to be also fixed. So hopefully you got everything right and you can see your balls is moving to the target position. That's it for today's episode. In the next episode, we're gonna brush out this ball's movement and also add some more gameplay logic. So thanks for watching, and I will see you again in the next episode.